Are you looking for the best bookshelf speakers? In this video we will look at some of the 5 best bookshelf speakers on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. The best passive bookshelf speakers. The Sony SSCS5M2 is an updated version of a passive speaker that has been a favorite of budget-minded home theater enthusiasts for more than a decade. It has a lively yet natural sound that works great for both music and movies, and Sony offers matching center and Atmos-enabled speakers to create a surround sound system. This pair just sounds great. In a brand-concealed listening comparison, the SSCS5M2 had a more natural sound than our previous top pick, the Pokey S15, with a more prominent treble that made instruments like cymbals and acoustic guitars sound clearer. The SSCS5M2 also had a slightly more present mid-range, which makes vocals and dialogue a little easier to understand. Even though the SSCS5M2 has a relatively small, 5.12-inch woofer, it delivers decent bass. On Audrey Nuna's bass-intensive Damn Right, the SSCS5MK2 sounded even clearer than our upgrade pick, the Triangle Borea BR03, which produced a bit of chuffing from its bass ports. However, the Borea BR03 sound is more spacious, and voices are smoother and more natural. Its solid engineering will satisfy audio enthusiasts. My technical tests, described below, confirm that the SSCS5M2 is a well-designed speaker. Its frequency response stayed within plus or minus 3.0 decibels, and its sensitivity measured 87.9 dB, which means it can get over 100 dB, an uncomfortably loud sound level, when paired with just a 30-watt amplifier. Number 2. If you want deeper bass and more refined looks, the Triangle Borea BR03 speakers are a great choice for serious listeners who want the enveloping sound of real audiophile-grade speakers but don't want to spend thousands of dollars. This pair provides the most natural, balanced sound we've heard from bookshelf speakers priced under $500 per pair, and there's no real need to add a subwoofer unless you're a deep bass fan. Its sound is nearly flawless. Even after hours of listening to the BR03, I can't think of a significant complaint. Every part of the audio spectrum, from deep bass to mid-range to treble, sounded natural, and I noticed no sonic flaws that distracted from the music. Voices, in particular, sounded smooth, and this pair has a more open, spacious sound than our other passive speaker picks. Triangle Audio recently released the Borea BR04, a pricier version of the BR03 that uses the same drivers, a different crossover circuit, and an enclosure that's 19% larger by volume. The main difference we heard in our tests was that the BR04 produced stronger, clearer bass. We think most listeners will be happy with the BR03, but if you don't mind spending the extra money and accommodating a somewhat larger speaker, the BR04 is a worthwhile upgrade. You can trust this speaker's engineering. In my technical measurements, the BR03 produced an admirably flat frequency response, with a variation of about plus or minus 2.5 decibels through most of the audio range and an even balance of bass to mid-range to treble. Sensitivity measured at 87.3 dB, about the same as the Sony SSCS5M2, which means even a 30-watt amplifier can drive this speaker to loud levels. Number 3. Good passive speakers at a bargain price. Music lovers seeking a decent pair of speakers at a low cost will appreciate the Mikit MB42X G2 set. These speakers don't sound quite as smooth and natural as our other picks, but when mated with a good small amplifier, they can easily outperform most portable speakers. This model sounds shockingly good for around $100 per pair. In our brand-concealed testing of budget-oriented speakers, the MB42X G2 emerged as the favorite, even against speakers costing at least $50 more. This set has a natural-sounding balance of bass, mid-range, and treble, voices sounded smooth, and no instruments were unnaturally emphasized. The bass was strong for a speaker with only a 4-inch woofer, which gave the MB42X G2 a fuller sound than what we heard from its competitors. The frequency response measured impressively flat at plus or minus 2.3 decibels. It's small enough to use almost anywhere. At just 9.375 inches high, the MB42X-G2 is the smallest passive speaker we recommend. The grills attach with concealed magnets rather than pins and grommets, which is unusual for models in this price range, so the speaker looks good without its grill. The design is rear-ported, though, so as tempting as it might be to push these tiny speakers up against a wall, don't. That could block the port and thin out the sound. Number 4. The best powered bookshelf speakers for most people. The Victrola Tempo VPS 400 speaker system delivers good sound, great styling, and a few nice features that can help optimize sound quality and convenience. It also has an impressive array of connection options for a speaker system in this price range, including Bluetooth Auracast transmission. The sound quality is excellent for the price. The Victrola Tempo held its own in a brand-concealed listening test against our upgrade pick, the much more expensive ELAC debut Connex DCB41. This speaker pair produced a similarly natural mid-range and excellent voice clarity, even if it couldn't match the ELAC system's bass and treble clarity and power. The even balance of bass, mid-range, and treble makes it suitable for any kind of music, as well as for movies. It also sounded fuller than our budget pick, the Hi-Vi-Swans OS 10. We liked the bit of extra spaciousness that the Tempo gave us. While the DCB41 produced more focused sonic images, for example, of singers positioned between the two speakers, the Tempo's sound had a more wraparound effect that we enjoyed. The Tempo's 4-inch woofers can't put out powerful bass, but you can easily add a subwoofer for that. The connection panel includes a subwoofer output that incorporates a filter to remove the bass, below 116 Hz, from the Tempo speakers and route it to the subwoofer. This filter allows the Tempo speakers to play louder with less distortion. We love the way adding the Rogersound Labs Speedwoofer 10 SMKII subwoofer helped fill out the sound on electronic music and movie soundtracks, but even a smaller subwoofer such as the Dayton Audio SUB1000L can make this system sound surprisingly satisfying. Number 5. A great-sounding powered speaker at a friendly price. The Hi-Vi-Swans OS 10 powered speakers are a terrific choice for those who want excellent sound at a low price, or in a smaller speaker. The OS 10 system actually sounds clearer and looks nicer than many of the more expensive powered bookshelf speakers we tested, but it lacks HDMI and phono inputs and a subwoofer output, so it's much less versatile. Also, it can't match the bass performance of larger models. This system produces the best sound we've heard for the price. When we did a brand-concealed test of the OS 10 against our previous top pick, the Andover Audio Speakeasy 4, and the much larger Dayton Audio B65A, we were shocked to find that the relatively tiny OS 10 was our clear favorite. It had an exceptionally clear sound, with a strong but not overemphasized treble that made voices sound more intelligible yet still natural. Because of its neutral-sounding tone, this speaker system works well with most genres of music, except for bass-heavy EDM and hip-hop. We were also shocked to hear how good the bass coming from the OS 10's little 4-inch woofers sounded. No, it doesn't play the low notes particularly loud or deep, but what bass it does have is well balanced with the mid-range and treble. It sounds clear and well-defined rather than boomy. The OS 10 delivered one of the best frequency response measurements we've ever seen for a speaker, at plus or minus 1.6 decibels through almost the entire audio band, which means that the mix of instruments and voices will be preserved and nothing will sound unnatural.